Good morning, children. Welcome to my second module of introduction chapter. In this module, we are going to learn the differences between micro and macroeconomics. As we have learned already, microeconomics studies about individual unit. Okay. Now, when we have to learn the differences, you have to also learn the basis of differences between micro and macroeconomics. Acronym that is used to make you remember the differences are ATMDOB, where A stands for aim, T for tools, M for meaning, D for degree, O for other name, and B for basic assumption. So there are six bases in micro as well as in macroeconomics. Moving with our first basis, that is aim. Basic aim to learn microeconomics is to determine price of one commodity or price of factors of production. Factors of production means there are four factors which you have already learned in ninth or in 10th. They are land, labor, capital, and organization. So remuneration that are to be paid for different factors of production is also covered under microeconomics. So basic aim is to determine price of commodity, price of one commodity or price of a commodity, as well as remuneration to be paid for different factors of production. Second basis, that is tools. The main tool that is used in microeconomics is demand and supply. Consumers, we demand different goods and supply is done by producers. So these are the two important tools that we are going to cover in this microeconomics. And the third basis is meaning, which we have covered it yesterday in Zoom class. It studies the behavior of individual unit of an economy. So I'm not explaining it again. And the fourth basis is degree. It has very limited degree of aggregation. For example, in microeconomics, we are going to learn about the demand of one individual or of one buyer. Using this demand of an individual, what we do is we try to derive market demand. Now what market demand is? That market demand is totality of all individual demands. Okay, market demand is when we add all individual demand, what we get is called as market demand. So in microeconomics, we have very limited degree of aggregation. And the fifth basis of microeconomics is other name. This microeconomics, or it is also called as price theory. Other name for microeconomics is price theory. Now the last basis, that is basic assumption. If we have to learn microeconomics, what we have to do is we have to assume that all macro variables are constant. Now, what are macro variables? When I say macro variables, they are they are aggregate demand. So when we try to learn about the demand of one individual, it is called as microeconomics. When we try to learn about the demand of all individuals for all commodities, then it is called as macroeconomics or macro variable. One more example, if we try to learn about income of an individual, it is microeconomics. If we try to learn about income of a nation or national income, then it is termed as macroeconomics or macro variable. So if we have to learn microeconomics, what we have to do is we have to assume all macro variables as constant. So in microeconomics, there are 6 bases. A stands for aim, T for tools, M for meaning, D for degree, O for other name, and B for basic assumption. Now going with the next difference, that is differences of macroeconomics. So I did it separately. So here also same basis are used: aim, tools, meaning, degree, other name, and basic assumption. Now macroeconomics. The word macro stands for aggregate. Aggregate means total. Okay, the letter A in macro stands for aggregate. Aggregate means it is total of anything. Okay. Now the basic aim of macroeconomics is to determine income and employment level of an economy. In this macroeconomics, we will try to learn how an economy gives or decides or determines income and employment in a country. Now, tools that are used in macroeconomics are aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Aggregate means total demand by all consumers for all commodities. We call it as aggregate demand. Aggregate supply means total goods supplied by all producers of all commodities. Then it is termed as aggregate supply. So the word aggregate stands for total, meaning it studies the behavior of aggregates of an economy, totality of an economy. Now, when we move on with the fourth basis, that is degree, it has high degree of aggregation. When we say high degree, it tries to learn about the entire economy, all the concepts of entire economy, like total employment, total income, total savings, total demand, total supply, etc. So it always has high degree of aggregation. Other name for macroeconomics is it is also called as income and employment theory. Now the last basis, that is basic assumption. If we have to learn macroeconomics, we have to again assume all micro variables as constant. So I'm repeating it. If we have to learn macroeconomics, we assume all micro variables to be constant. Micro variable is, if you have to learn about national income, national means total. If you have to learn about total income, we have to assume that income of an individual is constant or per capita income is constant. Okay, so with this we end the second module of the lesson, introduction. Thank you.